Moving on, we shall look into the next subtopic, the aspects of the food security. So there are three food security aspects. So I would like to introduce what does WHO define about the three main aspects. So WHO define the three main aspects of food security. The first is the food availability. Second is the food access, and last but not least, the food utilization. So we shall look into one by one lah. So kita akan tengok yang pertama iaitu food availability. Food availability. So what does it mean? Having a sufficient supply of food available on a consistent basis. Consistent basis. Maksudnya setiap hari takkan kata putus lah makan tu kan, makanan tu. So this food can be either locally produced or imported from other countries or other places. However, there are a few factors that communities may not be able to produce their own food locally due to several factors. So number one, due to the inappropriate agricultural technologies. So again, tadi kita dah tengok kan, agriculture sector ada 4 industri. Farming, fisheries, forestry, livestock. So, kadang-kadang sesebuah negara tu ataupun sesebuah kawasan tu tidak boleh produce their own local product due to lack of technologies. So, ini merupakan salah satu faktor kenapa sesetengah negara unable to produce their own food locally. Number two, due to the lack of natural resources. For example, we do not have a piece of land to orang kata apa untuk tanam kan, untuk tanam sesuatu tanaman. Number three, due to the climate constraint and also health constraint. So untuk climate constraint ni because of natural disasters lah, climate change kan. So berlakunya banjir kilat, kawasan jadi kemarau, tanah tandus, the quality of the land itself has become worse kan, has become worse due to the climate constraint. And due to health constraint, berlakunya orang kata apa, HIV and also AIDS. So bila berlakunya wabak HIV, bukan wabak lah, penyakit HIV dan AIDS ni spreading, so the orang kata apa, manpower, the labour force akan jadi makin sedikit lah kan. Tak adalah orang nak bangunkan tanah tu. Tak adalah orang nak kerjakan the agricultural sector. Maksudnya manpower Malaysia tu makin berkurangan lah sebabnya ada sesetengah individu yang telah mendapat penyakit HIV dan AIDS. And then, other than that, communities may be unable to import. Yang tadi tu produce locally. Ni nak cerita pasal import pula. Import food from other places due to of, number one, lack of foreign exchange. So basically, lack of foreign exchange, dia berkait rapat dengan on how the government to pay the imports, to pay for the imports. So, kenapa tak mampu nak pay the import duties? This is because due to the low foreign exchange reserve and also rural development. So total import dekat Malaysia the total import of foods in 2019 is amounted up to 51.4 billion compared to 2018. So as a matter of fact, the figure of Malaysia's import for agro food lah has been on a steady upward trend from year to year. So maksudnya kita nak kata kat sini, Malaysia does not produce enough food for its own population. Can you imagine? So inilah kita kata dengan food insecurity. And then second is due to the orang kata apa, the malnutrition issues. So malnutrisi ni, you tak payah sibuk lah cerita pasal South Africa ke Afrika ke, tengok dalam Malaysia. Even Malaysia pun, this malnutrition is still an concern issue among our children in Malaysia. Kan? So basically, according to the global index tadi kan, global index report, dia kata 20.7% of Malaysian children under 5 years old are stunted. Maksudnya apa? Kadar orang kata apa? Dia punya growth tu kan. Tumbuh besaran dia terbantut. Sebabkan malnutrisi yang telah berlaku dalam household. So as the world is facing with the COVID-19 pandemic ni, Malaysia is not actually spared as many have as our concern lah. Maksudnya orang masih lagi memikirkan bahawa kita ni masih lagi ada that food security. However, this food security can be shifted. Kita mungkin boleh jadi secured kepada insecure. Okay, next dia kata kat sini, due to political unrest. So, political unrest ni due to how the Malaysian government deals with the COVID-19 kan. So, kita pun dah tahu. Sekarang ni bila berlaku COVID-19, ramai yang dah hilang pekerjaan. So, kita pun tahu this worst job crisis last pun waktu berlakunya Great Depression. So, kalau you tengok dekat Twitter kan, golongan-golongan M40 ada yang jatuh B40. So B40 tu nak jatuh dekat mana dah? So bila berlakunya this issue, orang ramai hilang pekerjaan, jadinya kekangan duit tu ada, betul tak? Financial burden tu ada. So mulalah kita skip makanan, mulalah kita makan benda-benda yang kurang memberi nutrisi kepada badan. So bila tak cukup nutrisi, macam mana kita nak ada mental yang sihat, fizikal yang sihat untuk kita bekerja, betul tak? So ini adalah the risk of the food security and also the chronic malnutrition issues, especially for those who are in the in the vulnerable population. So vulnerable population ni kita refer kepada mereka-mereka yang telah hilang pekerjaan lah, yang orang kata apa, this is the impact of the unemployment. So bila tak ada pekerjaan, berlakulah kemiskinan. Bila berlakulah kemiskinan, berlakulah jenayah. Sebab itulah kerajaan Malaysia seharusnya bincangkan tentang isu-isu macam mana nak bantras ataupun macam mana nak tangani masalah unemployment ni. Sebab tak ada pekerjaan, kadar jenayah akan makin tinggi. So, kita nak go through the second aspect, iaitu the food access kan. The second aspect of food security is the food access. Having a sufficient resources to obtain appropriate foods for a nutritious diet. Even when a sufficient supply of food exists to feed everyone, the food itself may not always be accessible to obtain food. So accessible to everyone. Maksudnya tak semua orang ada capacity untuk dapatkan makanan tu, betul tak? So the people need to have sufficient incomes and resources in order to obtain food. Itulah saya kata. Kerajaan perlu tangani isu-isu unemployment ni supaya kita semua ada pekerjaan. Bila kita ada pekerjaan, kita ada gaji. Bila kita ada gaji, kita ada duit untuk beli makanan yang lebih sihat. So there are a number of factors that can affect a person's economic access to food, including the lack of job opportunities that can provide sufficient income, or the lack of training or business knowledge for success with income generating activities. So kat sini ada orang kata apa? Dia ada pro and cons dia kan. Dia ada pro and cons dia. So mostly kita perlu tanganilah masalah orang kata apa? Masalah unemployment rate lah. Sebab tak semestinya kadang-kadang orang yang bekerja ni pun dia memanglah ada gaji. Kadang-kadang gaji dia pun dia terpaksa catu nak jimat kan makanan. Sebab perlu untuk ada living cost lain yang nak kena tangani. Contohnya macam saya bagi contoh sebelum ni tentang satu family ada 3 orang anak. Belanja anak nak pergi sekolah sangat tinggi kan, jadinya terpaksalah beli makanan, berjimat sikit nak beli barang makanan for example. So itulah kita katakan dengan how this actually a person's economic access to food indicates our food insecurity in the household level. So again, the risk of food security and also chronic malnutrition issues are the most vulnerable issues lah that can impact to the Malaysian people. Especially nak time tengah-tengah COVID-19 ni. So, next, the final aspect of food security, number 3 is the food utilization, penggunaan makanan itu tersendiri or consuming a nutritious diet. So, this means that the people make appropriate use of food based on knowledge of basic nutrition and care and have access to water and sanitation for preparing food and maintaining a proper hygiene. Macam mana pengendalian makanan tu kan dilakukan. Itu pun perlu diambil kira lah. Barulah kita kata dengan food security. Contohnya macam saya bagi contoh tadi kan. Industri livestock adanya sertifikat halal. Sebab halal tu bukan dia tunjuk sahaja in terms of contohnya macam producing contohnya bagi orang yang beragama Islam, mereka tidak boleh makan daging khinzir. So halal tu bukan tertakluk kepada benda yang haram saja. Contohnya macam dari segi kebersihan pun ada pun halal dan haram dia. Betul tak? Takkanlah you nak beli makanan dekat tempat-tempat kotor kan. Benda tu tak elok. So hygienic, orang kata apa? Hygienic and also sanitation aspect also need to consider in order for us to achieve this food security. Quality of food itself. Food security lah tu kan. So, nutrition education can be an important part of improving our food utilization, making to make sure that people are aware of the variety of foods their bodies need to maintain a good health. So, in many parts of the world experiencing food insecurity, people may consume sufficient quantities of such staple food like potato, like rice, maize, and also cassava, but insufficient quantities of proteins, oils, dairy, fruits, and also vegetables that can make up a balanced diet. Betul, dekat Malaysia kita memang suka makan nasi. Betul tak? Tapi makan nasi lebih daripada keperluan badan kita. Kita kurang dia protein, kurangnya sayur-sayuran. So, kita perlu ada sikap, ambil berat tentang nutrisi pemakanan yang kita ambil seharian. So, changing this may not only require nutrition education but also increasing food availability through improved agricultural practices and resources. Seperti saya kata sebelum ini, in order for us Malaysian to get a good quality of food, kan, a balanced diet, a proper meal is so costly. Therefore, we need to think creative, by improve our agricultural practices. So, tak perlu dah you nak mengharapkan producer-producer yang besar-besar kan untuk produce. Contohnya macam apa, buat sayur organik lah apa semua. So you boleh come up with your own creative idea ataupun creative strategy. Mungkin tanam ke daun salad ke kan, bayam bayam Brazil ke dekat belakang rumah. Tanam what else, tomato, tanam timun. So benda-benda macam ni lah kita kata dengan nutrition education. You don't have to wait for the biggest or the main producer to produce those vegetables kan, for you, in order for you to keep your healthy lifestyle. Tapi you boleh make your own action. So disease prevention and also management, including a proper sanitation management and hygienic practices, are also important for a proper food utilization. Contohnya macam nak packaging food ni kan, dalam tin. So required a proper sanitation. So kalau you perasan, even kat kedai makan, dekat premis pasar pun ada lesen-lesen tu kan, A, B, C kan, bersih, tak bersih, memuaskan. So these are the food is considered as a food utilization lah, macam mana pengendalian makanan itu dilaksanakan. So, undernourished human bodies are more susceptible to illness like diarrheal disease and pneumonia. So, bila berlakunya orang kata apa, kegagalan producer ataupun kegagalan sesebuah kedai makan maupun restoran dalam maintain the hygienic sanitation management, dia boleh mendatangkan penyakit-penyakit ciriberet and also pneumonia. So even sekarang due to globalization, due to the climate change, dah macam penyakit yang semakin orang kata apa, merepek-repek Inilah salah satu orang kata apa kesan daripada climate change lah. So with the proper nutrition, with the proper sanitation management, and with the proper hygienic practice, this disease, especially those caused by food and waterborne contaminants, are less likely to occur. Kan, contohnya macam kat pasar malam kan, masaklah air, betul tak? Masak air tu biarlah masak yang lama sikit, air tu kena bersih. So tak adalah orang sakit perut, ada orang kena taun, betul tak? So itulah kita kata dengan food utilization ataupun pengendalian makanan lah. So although what I can conclude lah kan, although we can rely on our exporting nation for our staple, but it doesn't mean that we should not not to do anything that to reduce our dependency on other food for food security. Again lah, macam saya cakap kan, takkan you nak tunggu this big producer untuk producekan this food punya food staple ataupun food stuff. So the agriculture sector is prone to many risks arising from the adverse weather, dari segi cuaca, even our market lah yang tadi tu kan, foreign exchange, and also berlakunya animal disease. Contohnya kita pernah berlakunya wabak apa? Wabak nipah tu kan, yang daging khinzir, ada orang kata apa? Ada daging khinzir tu orang kata apa, berlakunya wabak nipah tu sebabkan rupanya kandang khinzir tu tidak dibersihkan. So itulah kita kata dengan food security impact.